My heart is full and I am inspired, and it's an incredible opportunity to close out these morning talks by sharing a little bit about what's on my heart. My name is Feinberg. I'm the executive director at Stand Together Foundation, and I wanted to end us here today by talking about why are we here? Why are we listening to these incredible and inspirational speeches? Why are we hearing these stories? What are we trying to accomplish together? For the folks that are here at Community First and Mobile Loaves and Fishes, for those that are watching online, for those that will watch these videos for the months and years to come, what do we want to accomplish? Why is this so important? And I want to share with you this, that the people that are here, that are participating in this community, in this movement, have the answers to some of the most significant and intractable problems that face our country today. And so I want to first say this. Our social sector, it's broken. Our communities are breaking. We've got 40 million plus Americans living in poverty today. Deaths of despair in our country, they're on the rise. Social mobility, for one of the first times in modern history, is on the decline. There's something broken about our communities, and we're getting more divided and more polarized than ever. The question is what? What's wrong? What's broken? What's not working about our communities? And I'd say it starts with this. We spend trillions of dollars, tons of man hours. We built one of the fastest growing industries in America in the nonprofit sector with over 1.5 million nonprofits, and it's now the fourth largest employer in our country. And with all that time, all that talent, all that treasure, barely anyone is paying attention to the customer, to the people that are being served. The individuals facing barriers in their life, social barriers, problems in their communities, barely anyone is asking them, what do you need, want, and desire? What will help you overcome the circumstances you're in? What has worked? Has this intervention worked for you? What needs to be done to help you to live up to your full potential? What we need in this country is a bottom-up revolution, away from top-down control, seeking out interventions for how we're going to fix broken and deficient people, and instead a bottom-up revolution to empower people from the bottom up. And what you've seen today is social entrepreneurship, that each and every day is discovering new and better ways of helping people to tap into their unique gifts and talents, to contribute to others, and to lift themselves up. It's that social entrepreneurship that needs to catch fire all over this country. I want to share with you a couple of stories that I think illustrate the need for this revolution, and then talk about a few ways that we can all do it together. So just yesterday, I was in the kitchen here at Community First Village at Mobile Loaves and Fishes, and I met my new friend, EJ. EJ's an awesome guy. He's a line cook in the kitchen. He just radiates warmth and kindness and love. He's a mentor to new folks coming into the kitchen. He's serving the folks that are here in incredible ways. He's got this long history working in the food industry, and so he's bringing those gifts and talents to contribute to this incredible community. If you met EJ or you read about EJ in a book, you might start with the stereotypes that Amber Fogarty shared in the first opening talk today. EJ was chronically homeless for 14 years, from 2003 to 2017. He was sleeping in the woods and sometimes on park benches. He was bathing in the creek. He was every stereotype that someone might have in their mind about someone who's long-term and chronically homeless. But EJ got there through a series of unfortunate circumstances and difficulties that once you hear him tell his story, you can relate to and understand. And he worked throughout that entire time, working in the food service industry and keeping up a pretty steady job. It wasn't until EJ came to Community First Village that anyone even really asked him what he needed to improve his life, what skills he wanted to leverage to get himself out of the situation that he was in. It wasn't until a social entrepreneur like Alan Graham, who was the visionary who founded Community First Village and Mobile Loaves and Fishes, got to know, yeah, Alan. It wasn't until a social entrepreneur like Alan was in relationship and his team was in relationship with EJ that they could discover what is it that EJ needs to live up to his full potential. I want to say more about Alan in a second, but one more story before that. I want to tell you about my friend Sean from the Phoenix. The Phoenix is an addiction recovery program that through the power of peer-to-peer physical fitness helps people to overcome addiction in their life, to tap into their own resilience, to become better than well through the power and strength of community and contribution to that community. My friend Sean was at the Phoenix the very first day that I did a site visit there. So I walk in the door, and they're treating me like I'm a new member, 48 hours clean and sober, coming into their doors. Within just a few minutes, I'm in a climbing harness, and I'm at a rock wall, a climbing wall, and I'm not much of a climber. So I walk up to the wall. He gives me a bunch of tips, some pretty important things like pretend it's like a ladder and use your legs, not your arms. Really good tips. I get up to the top. I'm feeling good about myself. He takes me to a much harder part of the wall. It was a little bit more difficult. He coaches me through it. I get to the top. I get down to the bottom. And right as I get to the bottom, Sean starts to tell his story. Turns out that very day was the 10th anniversary of his sobriety. Everyone starts coming from around the gym. People are dropping equipment, running over, hugs, tears, high fives, back slaps, and Sean begins to tell his story. He came into the Phoenix, he wasn't a climber at all, wasn't in very good shape, and he was at rock bottom in his life. He had tried every treatment program you could imagine, and nothing had worked. But he comes into the Phoenix, and he finds the strength and power of community and belief in himself. Soon he's rock climbing, and he finds out he's a pretty good rock climber. Then he finds out that he's looking next to him, and he's helping out others that are trying to get up the rock face as well. And he finds that his real gift, his real talent, and his real passion was in teaching and coaching others. Sean then became an instructor, got a paying job at the Phoenix as a climbing instructor. He was so good at that, he began to train the trainer and train all of the climbing instructors for the Phoenix across the country. And today, Sean is now living his best life as a result of that contribution. And so, what do I take out of these stories? It's that I don't think EJ's life would have been transformed or Sean's life would have been transformed but for social entrepreneurs that wanted to understand and develop relationship and community with them to help them to discover their true gifts and passion and help them to realize it. It was Alan Graham and Amber Fogarty and the social entrepreneurs here at Community First Village that really Alan just started by giving out sandwiches to individuals who were homeless, a solution that I don't think is going to solve homelessness in America. But through the power of relationship, those sandwiches became food trucks, and churches from all around the city were out there developing relationships with the population experiencing homelessness here in Austin. And then as they got to know the needs and desires of the community here in Austin, they then built the first homes at this village. And of course, Alan was using some of his background and unique gifts and experience in real estate to help drive that entrepreneurship. There wasn't some book, there wasn't some evidence-based best practice to scale to build Mobile Loaves and Fishes and to build Community First Village. It was discovered. And then get this is not the solution to chronic homelessness in America. Building tiny homes in a community like this, it is not the solution. It is a solution that Alan and Amber learned by being in relationship with individuals and discovering what will create value for them. Similarly with the Phoenix, Scott Stroh was just a guy on a bike, started riding his bike with others in recovery. And those bike rides turned into a successful recovery journey for so many people that it became a nonprofit. And that nonprofit opened CrossFit gyms. And those CrossFit gyms then led to incredible results, a third of the relapse rates of the best clinical programs in the country. So they opened more gyms across the country, and that could only serve so many people. So in an effort to better serve their customers, they started staff-led programming in other people's gyms, and then soon volunteer-led programming around the country. And now today, a technology product where anyone right now who's struggling with addiction can go onto the Phoenix app and join community and classes to overcome their addiction. Soon that technology will be able to certify volunteers all around the country to spontaneously start Phoenix programming. They're going to go from serving 4,000 people just a few years ago to 1 million people in the next few years, and hopefully many more beyond. as I shared more about Alan, they're going to serve a couple thousand residents here at the Community First Village. There are 3,000 homeless individuals in Austin today. There are about 1,500 or 1,600 chronically homeless. What an incredible way that they are meeting. They're putting a significant dent in long-term homelessness in Austin. So if you believe me, right, and you've heard speeches today, I told those two stories. I could tell hundreds more from the social entrepreneurs that make up this Catalyst community. You have heard them today. If you need hope that the future of the country can be driven by bottom-up entrepreneurship, look no further than the folks that you heard from this stage and the hundreds more out there. So how do we together build this bottom-up movement? What is it going to take from each of us in doing it? I want to start with three key insights that we should all take away from today. The first, this cannot be a movement of practice. It has to be a movement of principle. It has to be a movement of principle. It is not that we need to go do exactly what you heard from the stage today. Those programs are incredible, and you might learn many things from them. But the goal of this movement is not to go do and replicate what you heard on the stage today. The goal is to hear the principles and insights that have made them successful. I want to offer just a handful of those principles of what I believe are the principles of empowerment, the principles of human progress that you've heard today. One is a deep, deep belief in the dignity of every single person, and that anything that we do to try to drive progress in our communities must start with an incredible belief in the extraordinary potential and dignity of each person. That demands that we respect them and elevate them and consistently find ways to help them be the best version of themselves. Two, it's a belief that transformation happens as people tap into their unique gifts and talents to contribute to others. We call this principle self-actualization, right, in the Maslow sense of it. That transformation happens not when people are fixed as broken people, but when they, as individuals with so much to offer, tap into that to make that contribution. The third is openness. People can improve themselves and the world around them when they're given the opportunity to do it, and we need the free flow of knowledge, of services, of interactions, of collaboration. We need to drive openness in all of our work. The fourth is mutual benefit. We need to understand that people gain and succeed when others succeed, when we set the incentives right and we help each person to bring their best. So if we take these important principles, I believe we can drive this bottom-up empowerment revolution. If we commit ourselves to those principles, and frankly, if we think about our organizations as examples of these and other principles that we want everybody to learn from. What I want you to do is think about not what you'll do as a result of learning practices from today, but what have you learned that you can apply in your own organization tomorrow because of a new way of thinking or acting toward people and how to help them to be empowered to live up to their full potential. The second thing we have to do is we have to manage nonprofits differently. Today we manage nonprofits at odds with our values in the world. We use top-down control all too often to run our organizations. We believe we have an evidence-based best practice. I need to drive compliance on my team with just pushing out services the way we've always done it. We lean on process and bureaucracy and rules to run our organizations. But if we believe that everyone has a gift, if we believe we can help them tap into that gift to fully contribute, we have to manage our organizations and our teams and our employees and our staff in such a way that is consistent with that belief. So we have to ask ourselves, always and everywhere, are you empowering your employees to discover new and better ways to serve your customers based on their unique abilities and knowledge on how to do so? We need to reorient our management away from compliance with what the boss says or the donors say and toward what our customers need and want and what's working and not working to serve their needs. Right? We need a revolution. We need the equivalent of a design thinking revolution and human-centered design to infect our management practices. You've learned from us a management philosophy through this program for how we can empower each of our employees in our organizations to realize their full potential. I think that's the second thing we need. The third thing we need is to measure differently. Today's measurement, it's focused on the wrong people. It's focused on the top-down control. You're measuring things to please your donors, to tell a nice story, right? I've asked many of you this, and I know it to be true. And you're playing the game of measuring what you need to measure to pull down financial resources for what you do. And I don't begrudge you doing that. But we need to begin to think of what are those measures that will help us understand our customer, help us understand what they need, want, desire, understand whether or not what we've offered them has actually transformed their life. We need a revolution in how we think about customer feedback, much like the customer service industry that's got to make decisions way out ahead of whether or not they sell a product. They need to know, are my customers satisfied? Is their life better because of what we've offered, right? We ask a question on a scale of 1 to 10, how much has this organization or experience transformed your life for the better? And I'll tell you, you look around this room and you think about the people you serve, and they're saying that Telos trip I went on, 10 out of 10. Life-changing and transformative, right? You think about all the people in this room, 10 out of 10. My life has been transformed because of my experience with these organizations. And so we're trying to figure out together measures, but I encourage you, even without specific measures, that you would go back and think, am I measuring the things that matter to my customer, or am I measuring for the purpose of my donors and top-down control? So as you think about those three things, how we can build a community of principles and take a principled approach to this work, as you think about managing differently, as you think about measuring differently, I ask you to think about this. Think about just how impactful the organizations that you heard from today are. You only heard from one group out of 5 cohorts that are here this week. Those 5 cohorts are just a fraction of the 232 nonprofits in the Stand Together Foundation Catalyst Network today. We know we're just scratching the surface. We've prospected a number far greater than that would qualify and can be a great part of this program and this community as we scale up. The social entrepreneurs that think like you do, they're already out there. They're always and everywhere doing the work in our communities. We have this incredible opportunity to say, the work you're doing, me too. The principles you have, me too. We're in this together to drive this bottom-up revolution that can help each and every person tap into their gifts and talents to thrive. The EJs of the world, the Seans of the world, they can be so much more plentiful when we take this approach. Because I know that the Allens of the world and the Scott Strode from the Phoenix and the incredible leaders, that you all can lead the movement to drive change in America. So I thank you for being here, thank you for participating, and thank you for all you do to drive change in our country.